In 2004, the richest man in Europe was spotted at a hot dog stand outside an IKEA store in Sweden. He wasn't there for a meeting. He wasn't doing a publicity stunt. He was just hungry, and the hot dog was cheap. That man was Ingvar Kamprad, the founder of IKEA, a man whose personal fortune at the time was estimated at over 28 billion. A man who could have eaten anywhere on earth, stayed in any hotel, flown on any private jet, worn any suit money could buy. Instead, he drove a 1993 Volvo he had owned for over a decade. He flew economy class. He bought his clothes at flea markets. He reused his tea bags. When he traveled for business, he stayed in budget hotels and asked his staff to share rooms to cut costs. He was, by every financial measure, one of the wealthiest human beings alive. And he lived like someone who genuinely could not afford to waste a single krona. This is not a story about a miser. It is not a story about a man who forgot he was rich. It is a story about a boy from a small farm in rural Sweden who decided, before he had a single krona to his name, exactly what kind of man he was going to be, and never once changed his mind, no matter how much money arrived. And in the process, almost by accident, built the most successful furniture company in the history of the world. Ingvar Kamprad was born in 1926 on a farm called Elmterid, near a village called Gunnarid in the south of Sweden. It is, by every account, the middle of nowhere. Poor soil, harsh winters, a community where nothing came easily and nothing was wasted because wasting things was a luxury nobody could afford. His grandmother told him once that you could always do more with less. He seems to have taken that as a life philosophy rather than a piece of household advice. At 5 years old, Ingvar begins selling matches to his neighbors. He buys them in bulk from Stockholm, sells them individually at a small markup, and pockets the difference. By 7, he has expanded into selling fish, Christmas decorations, and pencils, all sourced cheaply in bulk, all sold locally for a small profit. He is not playing at business. He is doing it at 7 years old. At 17, his father gives him a small sum of money as a reward for his grades in school. Ingvar uses it to register a company. He calls it IKEA, the initials of his name, his farm, and his village. Ingvar Kamprad, Elmtarid, Gunnarid. The company's first products are not furniture. They are whatever Ingvar can source cheaply and sell at a profit. Pens, wallets, picture frames, watches, jewelry. A general catalog of small useful things sold by mail to rural Swedish families who cannot easily get to shops. He is not thinking about changing the world. He is thinking about the next margin, the next product, the next way to make something cheaper without making it worse. That instinct, finding the gap between what something costs to make and what people will pay for it, is the engine that will eventually build a $40 billion empire. In 1948, Ingvar adds furniture to the IKEA catalog. It works immediately, better than anything else he sells. Sweden, after the Second World War, is rebuilding. Young families need homes. Homes need furniture. And furniture, at the time, is either expensive, bought from traditional craftsmen, or cheap and ugly. Ingvar sees the gap. Good-looking furniture at a price ordinary families can actually afford. He begins working with local manufacturers, cutting costs wherever possible, passing the savings directly to the customer. The catalog grows. The orders grow. And then the established furniture industry takes notice and tries to destroy him. The traditional furniture manufacturers, alarmed by IKEA's prices, pressure their suppliers to stop working with Ingvar. Trade associations ban IKEA from furniture fairs. The message is clear. You are not welcome here, and we will cut off your supply chain if you don't go away. Ingvar's response is not to fight the establishment. It is to go around it entirely. He begins sourcing furniture from Poland, where labor costs are a fraction of Sweden's. The quality is just as good. The price is dramatically lower. The established manufacturers, who had tried to strangle IKEA in its crib, had instead forced Ingvar to discover a cheaper supply chain than he ever would have found on his own. The people who tried to kill IKEA accidentally made it stronger. The story of IKEA's most important innovation doesn't start in a boardroom or a design studio. It starts with a table and a problem fitting it into a car. In 1956, an IKEA employee named Gillis Lundgren is trying to load a table called the Lövet into a car to photograph it for the catalog. The table won't fit. Frustrated, Gillis removes the legs and then stops. If the legs come off for transport, why not design the table so the legs always come off? Why ship a fully assembled piece of furniture, paying for all that empty air inside the box, when you could ship it flat and let the customer put it together at home? The flat pack is born, not from genius, from a man who couldn't fit a table in a car. The implications are enormous. Flat pack furniture stacks efficiently. It fills trucks completely instead of half empty. It reduces shipping costs dramatically. It allows IKEA to pass those savings to the customer and still make a healthy margin. Every element of the modern IKEA experience, the warehouse stores, the self-assembly, the Allen key, the instruction manual with no words, flows from that moment, from Gillis Lundgren and a table that wouldn't fit in a car. Ingvar understands immediately what he has. He redesigns the entire product line around the flat pack concept. The savings compound at every step of the supply chain. The prices drop further. The customers multiply. By the 1960s, IKEA is not just a furniture company, it is a phenomenon. IKEA expands across Scandinavia, then Europe, then the world. The stores get bigger, the catalog gets thicker, the revenue climbs into the billions, and Ingvar Kamprad stays exactly the same. He continues to fly economy, continues to drive the old Volvo, continues to eat in the IKEA cafeteria alongside his employees rather than at restaurants. When he visits stores, which he does constantly unannounced, walking the floors and talking to staff, he takes public transport where he can. His argument is not that he cannot afford better. His argument is that spending money for its own sake is a form of disrespect. To the customer who is trusting IKEA to keep prices low, to the employee who is working hard to make the business function, and to the values he had formed on that farm in Agunnaryd before he had anything at all. He calls wastefulness a mortal sin. He means it. The frugality flows through the entire organization. IKEA's offices are famously Spartan. Business class flights are not permitted for employees regardless of seniority. Expense claims are scrutinized carefully. The culture of doing more with less, the culture Ingvar absorbed from his grandmother on a farm in rural Sweden, becomes the operating system of a global corporation. It is, in its own way, as radical as the flat pack. Most companies, as they grow wealthy, grow comfortable. IKEA never did, because its founder never did. The full story of Ingvar Kamprad has shadow in it too. As a young man in the 1940s, Ingvar was involved with a pro-Nazi organization in Sweden. He later called it the greatest mistake of his life and apologized for it directly and repeatedly. Whether that apology is sufficient is something people have disagreed about ever since. IKEA's tax structure has also drawn sustained criticism over the decades. The company is structured through a complex web of foundations and holding companies in the Netherlands and Liechtenstein, arrangements that minimize the tax IKEA pays in the countries where it actually operates and sells. Critics argue that a company that built its reputation on fairness and accessibility uses every legal mechanism available to avoid contributing to the societies it profits from. These are not small footnotes. They are part of the complete picture of a man and a company that are more complicated than the hot dog story alone suggests. Ingvar Kamprad died in January 2018 at the age of 91. He died on the farm in Agunnaryd, where he had grown up. The farm called Elmtaryd, the first letter in the company he had built from matchstick margins and a bicycle route through rural Sweden. IKEA today operates in 63 countries. It serves over 700 million customers a year. It is the largest furniture retailer on earth by a distance that its nearest competitor cannot close. And it was built on a single idea that Ingvar never once abandoned. Not design, not marketing, not technology. The idea that the person buying the furniture matters more than the person selling it. That if you can find one more way to take cost out of the process, one more inefficiency to eliminate, one more kilometer of empty air to remove from a shipping container, you pass that saving to the customer every time, without exception. He was worth $28 billion and he reused his tea bags because wasting a tea bag was wasting money that belonged, in some honest sense, to the customer. You can disagree with how he structured his taxes. You can judge him for the mistakes of his youth. But the man who ate a hot dog outside his own store because it was cheap, That man built something that 700 million people walk into every year and feel, somehow, that they got a fair deal. In business, that is rarer than any $1 billion.